What's going on, everyone? So the other day, we got confirmation that the Wayans are back for an upcoming scary movie film, and I cannot be more excited. One, it was infuriating how they were treated and how the franchise was essentially ripped from them. And then also, beyond that, I really wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought the third one was good. I know some people were fans of the fourth and fifth, but to me, they were kind of became a little silly. Obviously, this started the trend of spoof comedy, horror, and just spoofs, period, right? You had like what date movie, disaster movie, right? Like Meet the Spartans. You've had so many. I mean, we've even gotten sort of more recent ones with Marlon, right? With a haunted house. I liked the first one. The second one I thought was a bit disappointing. However, the first one I actually enjoyed. Was it great? Like, was it scary movie level? No, but I thought it was at least entertaining, especially considering the modern times. I hope that they have free range to really like bring that brand of comedy back. I hope it's not like, oh, well, you can't say this or you can't do this or, and studios just kind of nitpick and kind of go Disney with it, right? I hope that we get the real, like, hey, free range, do what you want to do. And just think of all the various horrors that we have now and which you could do compared to back then, right? I mean, you could do Terrifier and Megan and, the Purge, and you could stick with Scream, and they're coming out with all these sequels and requels and stuff, right? Like there's so many different possibilities of horror films that you can do now that we never really were able to do back then, right? Like I do think there is just this treasure trove of opportunity. I just think that there are so many different directions and possibilities and just comedies in which they can kind of make this happen and make this work. So I am super thrilled that the Wayans Brothers are back to kind of work, and just the family period is back to really hopefully get this ship right and potentially give us more. I hope that this isn't the only one. I hope that this is like, this one's good, has a ton of success, and then we get a bunch, right? Like I would love if every year, I mean, we get like Paranormal Activity and Saw and all these other horror franchises. Like, why not if they're good, right? Obviously, if they start getting a little ridiculous or start losing their luster a little bit, then sure. But as long as they are good quality comedy films, they're so fun, right? Like you just watch the classic Scary Movie 1 and 2. Sorry, I was going to say Scream. Scary Movie 1 and 2, which Scary Movie ruined Scream for me. Scream is my favorite horror franchise. I mean, I've built this channel on it in a lot of ways, right? But there are literal scenes in times where I'm watching Scream, and I just, something happens where it like mirrors a Scary Movie, and then those thoughts pop into my head, and I just start like laughing in times where you shouldn't be laughing. But that's the impact. That's how great these films were. But since the Wayans are back, who else is coming back? It's a big question. Well, Regina Hall recently talked about it. So Regina Hall reveals that she would be down to return for a Scary Movie reboot. We'll see if Brenda is in this new world. I'm thrilled at the possibility that the band could get back together again. That would be fun. Now, got to get Regina Hall back, in my opinion, if you can, especially since she's on board. Anna Faris, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the two of them, like a year ago or so, like when Scary Movie 6 was kind of floating around about the possibility and potential, I believe these two said that they had to do another, that they were open to do another one and would be willing to do another one, but they both had to come back like together, like it couldn't be one or the other, right? Like they were like a package deal. Could be wrong on sort of the details about that, but I do remember something about that. Get the band back together, right? Like, why not? Bring back Anna Faris, bring back Regina Hall, especially if they're down to do it. Right? Like, why not have that they have that chemistry, they have those relationships, right? Like, and especially if everyone's on board, right? One, it would, I think it fits. Two, right? Because again, you think of like all of the legacy sequels that have been coming out and all the requels, right? Like think of like Halloween, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even Scream. They're making I Know What You Did Last Summer. Right? They're making all these films, The Exorcist, right? Believer. All these films, what do? They bring back the original legacy cast, right? They bring back the original legacy characters. So you could even tie into that, bring back like Anna Faris and Regina Hall, and then have the Wayans brothers there and stuff like that, and just kind of have this like fun, like requel tie-ins. Maybe this film is even just about all the requels. They do an Exorcist and they, kind of go back to the classics. Do a Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all of those things, and kind of have those. Hey, of course, I want to see them sprinkle in some of the newer ones, right? I'd love to see them kind of sprinkle in some of these other horror films, but it would be funny. Like, what if Doofy comes back, right? Like, let's bring Doofy back and have him, right? So many Scream fans want to see Matthew Lillard return as, a Ghostface in these Scream movies. Like every year, every time there's a new Scream movie, there's just huge fans that want to see, Matthew Lillard return as Stu Macher, right? Like, what if you did that with like Doofy and brought Doofy back and had that fun dynamic of like, and have it tie in, like be like, this is what the fans wanted or something like that, right? And it's just like a funny kind of nod to the classic. I mean, even like Melissa Barrera, she even has talked about she would love to be in the Scary Movie, right? Like you could even have her come back or come into this universe and kind of play, and maybe her name's Sam and stuff like that. Like, you could do so many fun little parallels and just interesting ways to kind of have it and kind of go back a little bit, right? Kind of relive some of the golden days, some of the golden years for us. I mean, again, all the audience has grown up, right? Like we're all, 30s and above, right? This was so long ago. When did the first one come out? It came out in like, 25 years ago? Something like that? Been a long time. So why not kind of play into kind of Hollywood doing all these remakes and whatnot? Why not go into kind of the requels and all that stuff and just kind of keep things related to what current times are, especially if everyone's willing to come back, especially if everyone's willing on board. But look, Regina Hall, iconic Brenda, right? Take it, Brenda. Take it, Brandon. Take it. I mean, Brenda, right? Like it's so quotable, right? Like to this day, I'm genuinely excited about this because like it's one of my favorite like comedies ever, right? Like it's a classic. It was so great, right? The original. And look, I know there was Shriek, If You Know What I Did, last Friday the 13th. I think that's what it was off the top of my head, right? Which that one I enjoyed. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think that one's very bad at all. I think that one's, considering the time, I thought it was very comedic. It's entertaining. It's enjoyable. Like, still to this day, I'd watch it. But, it wasn't Scary Movie, right? Like, it was. Scary Movie was the gold standard, in my opinion. And it's the one that to this day, we quote and talk about and, and whatnot, right? Smell my fingers, my ass, right? Like, it's just, just thinking about it is just comedic. But, I obviously I want them to do right with this film. I want them to do right with this franchise. I don't want to see this I don't want to see this film get kind of handcuffed because like, oh, you can't say that. Oh, that might bother people. That might offend people. It's supposed to. It's a spoof, right? It's supposed to be kind of tongue-in-cheek, goofy, have some, funny, comedic, almost uncomfortable at times type of comedy. Right? Like, that's what it is. You push the boundaries a little bit, right? I don't want to see, I feel in a lot of ways, comedy is lost, like films have lost that. They're very like uptight with how, what they can say or what they would do and whatnot, right? And it's just like, obviously you don't, there's a line, you don't want to go too far across it, right? Obviously there's some things that, can be a little excessive, but I think give them free range, give them free opportunity, allow them to really kind of dive into some real jokes and let's get back to, I mean, think of to this day, all the iconic classics in comedy. They're not all recent, they're all old, right? They're all, they're all like films from, 10 plus years ago. I'm not saying there haven't been good comedy since and stuff, but they're very few and far between compared to, what we got back in the day. You think of things like, even like Not Another Teen Movie. I love that movie, right? Were there inappropriate jokes? Absolutely, but they were hilarious, right? Like, I don't know. I think that, again, I like comedy. It's fun to kind of poke fun at things and make fun of things and, and kind of just get away from just the real world, right? Reality, right? Obviously, again, you don't want to get too crazy. There is where it kind of becomes like, all right, like, was that necessary? But as long as you're staying within range, within a line, I'm okay with it, right? But again, maybe I'm odd one out. That's why, as always, I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you want to see them kind of get back to the classic comedy? Do you think that, like, no, it's a different time? Like, you should be able to conform and have kind of the comedy based on today's times, right? Like, I think of things like Tropic Thunder and stuff. Like, you'd never be able to do that today. But that movie's, like, hilarious and iconic, right? Like, that movie's great. Right? Like, you think back to some of those classics, and you can't, there's a lot of stuff that you just can't do in today's time anymore. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just something that I've thought about. But how do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? However you feel. Either way, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.